What is that back there? That looks like a bottle of Tanqueray.
Todd, yeah, I've hijacked Mikey's room.
Okay, I see some blue sapphire. I used to drink that back in the day.
That's it. He's got some bottles up there and some bits and pieces. And
all I can recognize is Bombay Sapphire.
Yep.
Which when I used to drink martinis way back in the day.
Yeah.
It looks like some.
He's got some good stuff up there. There's a new pink strawberry Beefeater gin.
Oh God, no.
American honey, he likes that.
Oh, American honey by Wild Turkey is very good. Yeah. I'm a honey whiskey man myself. Uh-oh, what is that?
Oh, that was my phone. That was my phone.
You turned it up. You were turning it off. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put on the intro and allow people time to come in. We're going to come back with the amazing and crazy Mick Rogers. He's going to do an Elvis impersonation, among other things, and we're just going to catch up. We haven't talked to him. So here we go. Be right back. Let's see now. Nice haircut.
Thank you.
Mick, somebody said you had a nice haircut. So Mick Rogers is in the house. For those of you who are not familiar with Mick, we've done a few shows together. And this goes back about 2 to 3 years. And yeah, he kind of, well, I guess we kind of connected through Morgan. You were a friend of Morgan's.
Yep.
And at some point we connected, and then next thing I know, you're doing you're piling a shower and dancing and doing Elvis impressions and spreading your so much wisdom and humor with the Soulogy group. Yeah, that was a big elevation period for Soulogy back in the day. That was what, about 3 years ago? Yeah, you developed quite a following too, man.
Yeah, at least.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an amazing journey.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of a lag.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, there's a lag. So.
Yep. It's a. Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's an amazing journey, Todd. It's an amazing journey.
Heather Nielsen says, Mick, you have a cute mouth. So you've got compliments on your haircut and your lips. So
yeah, they didn't see me yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I told you I was going to shave, but I didn't. So I mean, a lot's gone on since the last time we talked. We probably talked in early 20. Well, we talked privately a few times.
Yeah.
During the year, but and you guys, so you're down in Adelaide where they haven't had so much of the quarantine restrictions and all that. You know,
yeah, we've been lucky in that respect, if you want to look at it that way. You know, well, I've got all my views and all that sort of stuff on what's been going on, so you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we are where we are, and that's it. You know, so many people are buying into all the bullshit and all that, and it'll unfold how it'll unfold. And the best we can do is try not to be triggered by by anything really. That's the test for us, I think. Part of the test for us, not to be triggered by all that by anything really. But we are where we are.
So I guess we all end up in the same place because we're already in the same place.
Exactly.
There's all this distortion out there that gives us the illusion or the perception that we're actually separated. But what are you feeling in the energetic field? Because for those of you who don't know Mick's story, he is like a lot of people. He's very sensitive. He's got a strong internal guidance system, which kind of took off a few years ago when he actually was scheduled to, if I'm not mistaken, have his leg amputated. And on the night before, he received a download. Correct me if I'm wrong. He received a download and said, "I'm not having the surgery. I'm going to heal myself." And it's been quite a few years since then. And so, like I said, you've got a strong internal guidance system, and you're also sensitive. So, with that being said, what are you picking up on energetically? Where are you at, and where do you think we're at?
Well, as you sort of said, that we are where we are. We are where we are in the flow, and we have markers in our life, as I sort of label it, markers in our life that give us the opportunity to change the direction, I suppose. As you said about my health issues, that was coming on to 12 years ago now.
Wow.
And I pulled away from mainstream medicine. I had cancer issues and so forth. And, I was guided by, as I say, that side. And I had a profound dream and was guided away from doing that sort of stuff. And I had information reignited that I'd known about for quite some time. I followed what you would probably call that intuition, that guidance that was coming in. And to fast forward, it opened my eyes up to what was going on in the medical industry, pharmaceutical company, all that bullshit. And then, in that period of time, I wanted everybody to know, I wanted the world to know what was going on in that sort of area. I got frustrated a lot of times because no one was listening to me. Well, some people were. And I suppose as a human, that triggered emotional responses. I could see people dying around, and I knew that with certain information, there's a possibility that they wouldn't. But whether they took the information or not, that was up to them. But over the years, I've come to the understanding that you can give people information, and what they do, and this is very profound now. And it's whatever it is. So we'll fast forward that sort of stuff. I'm 100% healthy. My body is 100% healthy. I've still got my leg. I've got no cancer issues. I didn't follow any of the guidance of mainstream medicine, and I started to come into contact with a lot of other people in the world, and that was and do follow that internal guidance system, if that's the way you want to put it. And that's only about the medical side of things. So we could expand on the education system, the control of all those things that were given through our life, and that goes way back. That just goes way back and way back and way back. So to put it in a bit of a nutshell, it's the program systems that we subconsciously or consciously install in ourselves, and knowing now what I know now and what I've been learning along the way, meeting all people along the way to where we are now, I fully understand that we individually have control of whether we run those programs.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing. It is simple. And we'll go back to the frustration of people not doing that sort of stuff. But then where we are now, I understand that, and I'm feeling this so much out there, is that we are one eternal flow of consciousness, that organic flow of consciousness. There is no individuality. We are ingredients, if you want to put it that way, to everything. So, and as I've been listening to so many people, especially you with your platform, Todd, and the people that are coming in, and I've been with you guys for years now, so I know our story, or part of our story, because it's been shared, the information. And as we've put it in the past, and so these are just stories now. Yeah. They're actually just stories of our own individual ingredients, evolutionary forwardness in that expanse of consciousness itself.
Yeah.
Stories.
Have you, obviously there's been some big changes in the movie script, and programming, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Have you, doing the show, and then of course just in my own life and observing other people in the field, there seems to have been a huge acceleration for the end of 2020 that's obviously carried over into 2021. So we know there's been these big changes in terms of what we've been fed, or what's been presented. Have you experienced any big changes that kind of parallel that from an energetic level on an individual basis, or in your, let's say, your closest circles to you, and anything you've observed in the field with your friends around the world?
Absolutely. And listening to the live that you did just before, was it Soma?
Yeah, Soma.
Right. It was like I was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The information that I want to talk about and share, it was already happening. So this acceleration, it's huge. I've been finding so much lately that I want to share some information, and before I share that information, it's already been shared.
Yeah.
So this collective consciousness is expanding at an exponential rate. And talking about time, it's almost like it's non-existent now. I'll have an idea about something, or I want to share an idea about something, or tell somebody about what's going on in my story. And before I know it, it's irrelevant, really. Not irrelevant, but it's like I don't need to share it. It's like it's already happened, and I'm witnessing, so in this field that we're operating in, your platform, because I've been with you for probably 6 years now, and you shared one of your posts from about 4 years ago. I had a little look at it last night. I teared up. I teared up, and I said to Jude, I said, oh, but they weren't tears of sadness, and it was very, 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 very hard to even explain, because I know part of your story, and where that story was back then, and in the lineage of what we call time, really wasn't so far away. It wasn't that far away. It basically feels like it was yesterday. So to be sitting here now, talking to you now, you're not walking the streets alone. That story, Todd. To see that and be part of it becomes part of my story. So that collective of individual stories actually becomes part of your story. It's I say to people something like, once you know something, you can't unknow it. You just can't unknow it. It becomes part of your story, and no matter what that is, maybe it's bullshit. Maybe you've come on board to believe there's that belief system, that's the programming system too. Whether you've come on board to believe something, and then down the track you find out that it wasn't true. But that's all still part of the story too. And that's unfolding, and things are turning upside down, inside out, upside down, inside out. I had a profound vision, and it was only probably a couple of months ago. I wanted to get hold of you. I wanted to talk to you about this. I wanted to do this about this vision I had, and within a couple of days, I already heard people talking about this in a fractionally different way, because they're not me. This was only my story. I had a vision of a pyramid, a light pyramid appeared in front of me, and it started to rotate, and it turned upside down, and I started to, what's going on here? And that information came into me that the 3D pyramid that we've been programmed to be part of, with the 1% on top and the 99% on the bottom, and the struggle and the program that we've been believe is that we've got to get up the ladder. We've got to get to the ladder. We've got to get somewhere up near the top if we're going to be significant in life, labeling and all that sort of stuff. And as this pyramid turned upside down, I realized that this is the fifth dimension now, the 3D transfer of that iconic pyramid that everyone has revered to try and struggle to get to the top. And they're not going to get to the top because it's an uphill battle, and life shouldn't be about battling. So as this pyramid turned upside down, the struggling 99% became the top, and the 1% was on the bottom. And then that pyramid then overlapped the 3D pyramid and became the Star of David. And then I started seeing people posting stuff about the Star of David. Now, I'm not even familiar with all that sort of stuff. I don't follow astrology, I don't do that kind of stuff. But that information that I was being downloaded or that was coming to me was becoming apparently clear through other people transferring information. And it was like, I don't even need to talk about this now. It's like, it's already happening, and so many people are becoming aware of it, and they're sharing it, faster than I can even think about it now. And you're talking about the significant things like what's been happening to me, over the last. So these are things now. It's not like, oh, last year this happened. It's like, well, now. And I'm only talking about this now, but this happened like three or so months ago. I lived for a lot of years in fear on certain things, and I won't go into the details, but these fear programs were controlling my life, and it came to a point where I couldn't allow these situations to continue anymore, and so I collapsed that system. I've talked to Morgan about this and some other very close friends about labeling, burning the bridge. No, I don't. No, my view is no. I don't want to burn I don't want to ever burn the bridge, because that means nobody can cross that bridge. So I'll leave that bridge open, and hopefully the people or the situations in their flow of consciousness and evolutionary state may or may not still have the opportunity to still cross that bridge. The explanation of closing doors and opening doors. One door closes, another one opens. My view is I don't want to even close a door anymore. I'll just leave the door open and I'll go through another door. So, but if you want to put it into context, the one door shut, but 10 more opened. And this is regarding people that I'm associating with, business, the business model in my life and stuff like that. And I, by taking that view and attitude and not running those programs anymore, it's given space to new programs to come in for me to select which program I want running now.
So this is good stuff. So you basically just said that you collapsed the structures of certain certain programs that were actively running because of your interaction and engagement with them.
Yep.
So you collapse the structures by no longer participating in the programs.
Yep.
Right? So I'm looking at all this stuff going on, and I'm particularly talking about these things on a global scale that are creating the most divisiveness. And we can talk about dark and light and right and wrong and all that, but I want to approach it from a different standpoint, which you just gave us a great segue into it, which is really the same thing, and that's belief systems.
Yeah.
Is it, because what I'm seeing out there right now is, in fact, I know I'm going to do something on this in the next day or two on my own, just do a solo, which involves, what if your staunchest 3 or 4 belief systems aren't true? What if, these things that you're holding on to the dearest aren't true? What happens then? I remember doing a video back in the days when I met you back in 2015 in a street preaching video about everything gets taken away from you, which is what I was telling in that video. Everything was taken away from me. Every belief system, every love, every luxury, every single thing, every freedom, everything. And that's how you find your soul. But what I'm getting at is you just gave a great description of collapsing loops in your life
Yeah.
By no longer interacting with the program itself, it becomes non-existent in your reality. Was there a connection between your belief system? In other words, did you cut that belief system off when you chose to no longer have that in your experience? Those things that you collapsed.
Exactly. So that's where we are now with you. And I know your story. You were you had no choice. Your story collapsed those systems. You had no choice. I haven't walked the streets homeless. I haven't had that. I haven't been where you have been, Todd. Your systems were basically taken away from you. You had no choice. Your choice back then was to soldier on and create new belief systems, because your belief systems were they were forced away from you. It's like when somebody, and I've been incarcerated years ago, my belief system in the loving family environment and looking after my family and friends and all that they were taken away from. They were forced away from me. With you, all your belief systems were stripped from you. You were left bare. You had nothing but your soul as that guidance system, because there were no other belief systems to guide you. Where I am is that following all that information and seeing somebody like you that's had that happen to them, it's been a voluntary collapse.
Yeah.
Only due to the information that I know now. I didn't know this stuff back then. So you're right. My collapsing of the belief systems are voluntary now. And I held on to those belief systems controlled by fear. And that was the only reason. And some of these belief systems were that I'm 55 years old, and some of these belief systems that have been collapsed now, they were controlling my life for 15, 20 years. They're gone now. I had a dear friend suicide 20 years ago. That controlled my life and the immediate people around me, because I believed back then that I needed to operate this program of regret and blame. If I had been there, this wouldn't have happened. Morgan helped me years ago deal with shutting that program down, engaging in certain things that we were talking about and this, and, going back and talking to my younger self. And this stuff was new to me, putting my child in front of me, and other problems that I'd had, family issues and this and that, and being given the information and the choice to play that new program has helped me collapse those systems, those programs. Well, even not, it's a choice of not running that program. We're an intellectual computery, however you want to look at it, in the flow of consciousness itself. That's it. And its evolution, it's infinite. It's an expansion of infiniteness in every direction. that never stop. Nothing stops, or the only thing that you can guarantee in life, sort of thing, is constant change.
Yeah.
So even when you talk about people thinking now with all this, corona bullshit and this and that, and I hear people saying, and this is very prevalent right now with some people that I'm talking with, very close friends, about somebody said something about, there are a lot of people saying about, I wish it could go back to normal. There's no,
That's what we are doing. We're going back to our natural normal, but it's way beyond what we think.
Because then the people that are saying going back to normal are labeling, and we've been a part of that program,
Of course.
and inherently, like, what about the saying that you've heard over your life a million times? Oh, I wish we could go back to the good old days. Well, they're just memories of good times that we participated and good situations. When somebody says the good old days, their memory program just reflects back and picks out certain points in our life that made us happy. So we create that program of, well, that program, here's the CD, that's the good old times. Let's play that. And we're going to run that program in our head. But that program, it doesn't exist. It's a memory.
Like in the context of our series of incarnations on the earth, or this incarnation, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just actually, as we're talking, thinking about this, because obviously I'm married to a hell of an energy practitioner you made reference to earlier. And a lot, there's a lot of ways to explain what she does and those like her, which you're very familiar with, but the terms to deprogram and reprogram. And I'm sitting here taking that on going, I wonder if another way to say that is what I'm getting at, removing a belief system.
Yeah.
Like it seems like and I notice this in the field too, like one of the things I noticed in the last few weeks is, obviously I kind of study my contemporaries and other contemporary platforms, and just to pick up nuances and see what's happening information-wise. And one of the things, and I've got to say, this is my problem, right? This is part of my unconscious shadow, my blind spots, and I'm aware of it, like we all are. And if something makes you uncomfortable, you go to work. And one of the things that always kind of bothered me was, okay, somebody getting up, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. This is me. Somebody getting up and reading cards for people. And you got 250 people on the live, and hey, tell me about this and tell me about that. And to me, it was a very disempowering kind of thing.
Yeah.
But over the last few weeks, I noticed as all this stuff has been going on, and you see a lot of fluctuations in individuals and groups and energy and everything, which is all cool. It's all part of the process. I've seen other examples of this where people get, or let's just say the platform of the person gets very specific or singular in their message, and there's a great following. So what I'm trying to say is this deprogramming, reprogramming, even has an element of, it has a graduation, like a stair step of, I'm gonna remove this belief system that is this limited, and I'm going to replace it with another belief system that's a little bit more, a little bit wider. Not to say that I'm going to stop there, but this is the way we've learned. But now there's something different. And you talked about this earlier, and this is kind of where I'm going with it. What does this do to our conscious effort to remove belief systems when you, and I've heard Morgan say this too several times in the last few weeks, I got this. Why would I, first it was, I got this, I need to share it. And then before I could share it, somebody else has already shared it. And then it's like, I got this, why do I even need to? Because there's something happening in the etheric field that's non-physical, that we're all connected to, that it's happening, but it's like our consciousness, from the conscious level, awake human, it's slower. We can't really understand it. We can't really explain it. But you kind of did when you just said, I get this in. I have this pyramid experience. It turns into the Star of David. I don't even know what it is. I can turn on the news feed, and there's two people that are doing the same thing. So there's something to be said for that I think we need to give, not just individually, but give ourselves collectively credit for, and start to recognize it and look for validation within that field, as we do, and let's not lie about it, on mainstream media, on the news feed, on other people's posts, or whatever external validation that we seek, so that our current belief system can be reinforced. Maybe it's time we start to reach into the ether, so to speak, and play in that dimensional field, that morphic field, and start to give credence and substance to and reverence to the information that we're actually sharing. We're just not absolutely conscious on a human level how it works or what it is.
I feel you. And as we're talking, see, this is what it's about. We're sharing information, and you and I right now, and whoever's listening and on board with this is listening to this information real time. So you and I, we had no plan on what we're going to talk about. We're in the flow, What I can remember a few years ago when I did my first live with you, I went into panic mode. What are we going to talk about? I started writing things down, what I wanted to talk about, and that just went all out the window. And we just went into that flow. And I think what you're talking about now is, and I don't want to even say this is what we need to do. All I know is that we're just going to transfer some information here. So I don't want to tell anyone. I spoke to a dear friend of mine a couple of days ago about telling people what to do. Don't do this, don't do that. That's not what we should be doing. They've got to find out themselves.
Yeah.
We can give them some information. And see, the telling somebody what they should do and telling somebody what they shouldn't do, and that's an old program.
Yeah.
Or
telling somebody, well, it's the same thing. Telling somebody what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Like I remember going to I had to go to the first time I got married, I had to go to confession. It was a Catholic ceremony, right? I was married into okay. So they're like, before you can get married, you have to go to confession.
Yeah.
And I'm 22 years old, and I'm thinking, oh my God, So I sit down with this priest in an open room, which I'd never been in confession with an open room. I'd always been in that little cubicle, where you're looking through the screen.
Yeah.
And so I start to just say, okay, what am I supposed to say? It's been like 15 years. I've been raised in hell, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and all that. So we started having this conversation, and I said to him, okay, so you have two girls get pregnant, 15 years old. One lives in a southern plantation, has tutors, has the best of everything. The other lives in the ghetto and has been taking care of herself and maybe a couple of siblings since she's like 10 or 11. So the circumstances being totally different, yet the perception of each one of them should be the same, but they're not.
No.
Because it depends on whose eyes you're looking through. And so I guess what I'm saying is that this whole thing, like what you're talking about, what people are, I've seen some comments too, they're saying the same thing. Like, I don't feel the need to share anymore because it's not even needed. It's like, it's moving so fast. It's like all of these altered perceptions and division of perceptions, which is a division of oneness, right? A division of consciousness. You got two separate viewpoints. They're not aligned, so therefore you have polarity still active. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it seems pretty obvious to me that as we go into 2021, that there is a massive and it's been massive, and it's been expanding, and it's at the biggest point it's been, only to get bigger. A massive invisible hand of providence. You can call it an ascension cycle, you can call it whatever you want, but it's happening.
Yep.
You know, and nobody can explain it, and nobody can tell you there's a right or wrong about it. It's just happening, and we can either try to feel into it or continue to resist it by hanging on to our divisiveness, our polarities, our belief systems based on right and wrong and all that stuff. You know, it's actually weird. You know, it's kind of weird to me.
That's it exactly, Todd, because that is the ever expanding state of consciousness, the organic flow of consciousness itself. You know, we talked about some stuff earlier, you know, when I made a bit of a post about the feng shui and how when I spoke to my son, and you know, and my son said to me, "Dad, don't fuck with the feng shui," you know, and I'm like, because he asked me, you know, "Dad, you know what feng shui is? You're a martial artist, you know. You're an energy field. You're an energy healer. You know this. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, that's it. Don't f with the feng shui. And that became hilarious because it was so true. That continual organic flow of consciousness itself is just that. So anything that disrupts that outside, and I'll bring the words now into this interview, unconditional love. So anything that disrupts that organic flow of consciousness itself, as it's been termed the feng shui, is a disruption to that program, which is the program of unconditional love. Now, people and we talk about this. We talk about, and it's not so far away, Todd, that people were scared to say they loved each other because of that program, that, you know, of this, that, and the other. You know, I had a friend whose mum passed away, but you know, she was nearly 90 before she passed away, and I spoke to her, and I talked about unconditional love, and because, you know, her program was what it was, and she said to me, Mick, how can you say that? How can you say that you love somebody when you don't even know them, or they're not your family? And you know, I understood 100%. That was her program running. So she sat there, and she was very surprised, but very receptive. But you know, to fast forward all that, I try to explain what my perception of unconditional love was that it was that to concentrate on the soul level, bypass all the labels, and put it in the term of, you know, this person has done this, and it's not a good thing, but to bypass all that, and love the soul, the soul, the soul itself, and look at what they're doing, even though they might not be good things. And I'll go into, you know, because I've had to train myself to get to where I am now, and I did that in a way of thinking about, you know, pedophile priests and pedophiles and what they do, you know, and at one stage in my life, you know, I wanted to be a vigilante and go and do something that wasn't too good and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, I ran these programs through my brain, and I bypassed what they were doing, and I found myself going, well, I despise what they do. I don't like what they're doing, but to reach that 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 state where we're all supposed to be going, and whether we get there or not, that's up to us then, to immerse in that consciousness of field which we are in, but with that acceptance of unconditional love. And it, we can talk about that now, because not too far ago, people they can't even get their head around it, and the word gets thrown around so much. It was then I love you, and now it's like, unconditional love. Well, they are just, that's still just a label to explain something, but unless you have an understanding of what it is and a model of what it is to install in your program, they're only words again. So if somebody said to me, and I've had it said to me so many times about, if you could change humanity and install a program, or we were talking about programs, or install an idea, a program, or a belief system, again, another system, what would it be? Or and we have all these labels like greed, jealousy, hatred, and all these negative programs that are the what I would describe as the negative programs, which manifest everywhere but towards unconditional love. So if everyone, if people can be listening right now, Todd, but and some people could, I know not too many people here listening would be thinking it, but outside of it, people can't get their head around it because they haven't had the information. They haven't been presented with a model that can help them. So without that help and information, they're stuck where they are. So the unconditional love is with everything you do. And so this is our test. Yeah. This is where this is where we are.
Well,
everything.
Go ahead.
Everything. If everything we did, so I'll put it in a nutshell. If everything we did and thought about was directed from unconditional love, then we would be one.
It's like, and that's a great example. The term unconditional love.
It's love without condition.
Yeah, and so so if you look at that term, or if you look at the term oneness, or equality, or sovereignty, or whatever, it's like we know what the destination is.
Yeah.
We're figuring out what it actually means.
Yeah.
So the only thing we can do to construct in our heads, what does that actually look like, feel like, taste like? What does that sound like? What is that? Yeah. Is the only thing I can see that we can actually start to try to make sense of it are the things that because we don't know how to get there. Yeah. We can sit here and say, I am of this religion, I am of this nationalistic tendency, or this cultural, whatever, this sexual preference, this gender, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I know that we're all one.
Yeah.
Am I being one? Is it enough for me to go, I love you unconditionally? Well, we've all said that. Yeah. I do this a lot, like what you were talking about with the pedophiles. I do it with people that have been antagonists in my life, as I'm sure I've been an antagonist in other people's lives. Exactly. And I pull them in and go, I love you unconditionally.
Yeah.
Do I have a charge? Yes.
Yes.
You still have a charge. You love them unconditionally, but you're not actually being that. And that's not a judgment against myself. That's just like going, okay, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is that if this, to me, this is another thing that happened in those early years for me, like right off, like in the first 2 days, walking the streets, was the term, the brutal honesty of the soul.
Yeah.
It was like, if the universe was talking to me, they're like, look, there ain't nobody else coming in on this conversation. You're going to be here for quite some time. The first thing you need to understand is there's no one to convince outside of yourself. So don't bullshit yourself. Don't lie. Don't make excuses, and don't blame anything external. Now let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
So then something gets put in front of you, such as, I don't know, I'll just use a contemporary example, such as the political situation in America. Let's just say, as an energetic example. So you clearly have this side and you have that side.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not either one. I'm both.
Yeah.
I know this. I'm having this private conversation with the universe. And then the universe says, okay, what are you going to do about it? Well, it's out of my hands. I can't do anything about it because they do this and they do that. Oh, no. King's X, no one else is involved here. It's just you and me.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you going to do, Todd? This, because you are the only one here.
Yeah.
So using that as an example, and most of these examples, most of the things that I went through had to do with family.
Yep.
Had to do with society.
Yep.
You know, and it was just this whole thing about you are the one that makes the difference, period.
Yeah.
So take everybody else out of it. So having said that, I look at this whole evolution and journey and path that we're all on, you know, and we should give ourselves the reverence, love, respect, and honor from ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
But my point is like, when we can have that brutal honesty of the soul, that discussion with us and the universe, and really take full responsibility, there's not even a conversation that involves these external elements, these superficial occurrences and events and people that actually have been dominating our existence. This isn't a trick about right or wrong. This is a trick about being fully conscious, which is an evolving, expanding, always an ing on it kind of thing. You know, because like we were saying earlier, you go from one belief system to another, and what happens? And you kind of like go like this.
Yeah.
And then something happens and you got to get pushed up, and then you got to bust down a wall. But the truth is, it's all right here. You know, have we figured it out? No. But do we have some clues? Yes. What is that? To be totally present with yourself, to be totally honest with yourself, to be with who you love, to do what you love, and then everything else just starts happening. And there's a lot of people, and I believe you're one of them. There's a lot of people, regardless of the fluctuations we've had and the ups and downs and all that, that have stuck to that guidance we were talking about at the top of the show. And as you take responsibility, things just start coming to you. Things just start getting better. Doesn't mean you're not going to have these ebb and flow, but you're old, you know, like if it's a stairwell, you're old down, you know, when you go down, and fluctuation is your old high. You see, because it's ascending, you know. So I don't know, man. I just
well, you do know.
Well, yes, well, and you said it earlier. To me, and this is just an example, a physical representation of an energetic truth, in my opinion, and that is these types of conversations.
Yeah.
These types of conversations were like a spirit walk. The spirit walk was originally intended, from when I started them myself, and I know other people do them, to share these conversations that I had with the universe when I was on my own.
Yep.
Knowing that there's something, it may not be verbatim, but there's something in the spirit of it that unlocks that, whatever that is, in people to get closer. And it works both ways, by the way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, really, it goes back to that not running our old programs, and that's really what it is about. It all the ways that we have reacted to situations in our life are programs, because they were the programs that have been installed in us, generational and situational and environmental. That they're the programs. One of the biggest, I talked about collapsing some fear programs and that earlier, and this, that, and the other. But the biggest test in my life, I would say, was last year, when my son Mikey was axed in the head during a party home invasion, and taken to an intensive care. There was a chance that that he could have died, and me being the person that I am, and the life that I've lived before, I wanted to do something about it. And the day after, I collapsed in my driveway, and as I collapsed, I felt, and we can talk about things, and whether people understand it or not, it doesn't really matter, because this is just my story. My face turned into a dragon. I had flames coming out of my face, and I wanted to speak to somebody about what was going on. I was basically paralyzed. A particular person that was living in the UK at the time, I wanted to get hold of him, but how could I? I was laying on the ground. I was literally paralyzed with fear. I would imagine what it would have been at the moment, fear of what I was actually capable of doing due to that situation. And so I couldn't get hold of this person due to where I was, laying on the ground in fear, flames coming out of my face, dragon, that this was happening. And then all that was bypassed, and this and his brother, dragons, came to me. Now I'm talking about this, and there will be people that, and I've told this story to people. What bullshit are you talking about? You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean dragons came to you? What do you mean dragons? What were you on? Nothing. This, that, and the other. But that doesn't matter, because, as I said, there will be a lot of people that don't understand that, and that's great too. But there will be a lot of people that do understand that. Now, whether this was my own thought process and manifestation of this and that or whatever, I still don't understand. All I accepted it. Next minute, their two dragons came, landed beside me, wrapped their wings around me. The flames went back into me, and I calmed down. And at that point in time, I had a choice. It was to go into battle mode.
Yeah. And
that wasn't going to be good, Todd.
Yeah.
I would be taken. I was going to go into battle mode here.
Yeah.
And it was a choice: battle mode or unconditional love.
Yeah.
Now, for what these people did to my son, that was the choice. And 10 years ago, it would have been battle mode without it. It would have been battle mode.
Absolutely. I totally understand that, and I've done that. At
that point in time, unconditional love. I bypassed the feelings, the emotional program of retaliation and battle mode, and I bypassed that and brought in unconditional love, and everything was outside of it. It was only there. It was only in that 0 point that I found peace.
Yeah.
At that moment, I'd struggled with it still after.
Yeah.
But the initial on that precipice of, do I fire the gun or don't I fire the, and I'm not talking literally about going and shooting somebody, but do I fire that bullet or don't I fire that bullet? Now, at that moment in time, I chose not to fire the bullet. Now, I still struggled with it afterwards. And there were moments in time after that, you know, because these people were held accountable by the justice system. There were observers and witnesses, but these people that did what they did got hold of those people. They all went into fear mode. Nobody was prepared to witness what was going on, and literally these people that did what they did got away scot-free. Or did they?
Yeah.
As far as the labeling system of the justice system, yeah, they got away scot-free. But in here, did they? And I still now, and this was only last year, I still now, with the unconditional love thing, I love those people that did what they did. I still have that. That's the test. That's, if we want to be unconditional love, which I believe is our goal as humanity, to unite as one unconditionally. That's the model. It's unconditional love, and nothing else steps outside of it. And as you know, and like I'll talk about Morgan zero pointing, that sort of stuff. These are models. They're models that are being created to operate that with that unconditional love frequency. And it's basically, well, you know, that's a label, zero pointing, and it's bringing everything in to that 0 point, which is unconditional love. Everything falls away from the side, then that program it can't run anymore. And I've witnessed it happen. I've with myself. I've seen you guys working with that model, you know, and it works. It works. There may be other models too that work too, but it does work. It is that thing, going back to that 0 pointing of unconditional love, which then nothing can stick to that. Everything else is outside of it, and this is it in here. That 0 pointing, that the center of our soul, which is in this avatar that's been created, that will cease to exist in this form, but this central point, this soul, it's a continuation. It'll go, you know, if you do believe in incarnation, all that sort of stuff, it will manifest into another avatar, and it will continue, and this and that and so forth and so forth. But going back to that point again of that situation, this is just a story now, you know, but it's a story I would like people to hear, because I could already hear, my God, you know, and there are some people that are even close to me, Todd, that don't even know this story, because I didn't, you know, and if I say, you know, Mikey nearly died, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what are you going to do about it? Well, I've already done something about it, but I'll still get their view. Oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Yeah. And it's the same thing about with my health issues 12 years ago. You know, when I started to share that information, it was, oh my God, Mick, you poor thing. And I look back now and I go, no, these are blessings. These are just situations that have been presented to me in my life and have given me a choice on how I deal with that situation, which just becomes another story on a situation that's been presented. I spoke to you in one of our other lives about these other dreams and in symbols and stuff, and the O and the I and the K and the U, the oiku, the opportunity. Before anything ever happens to us, an opportunity needs to be presented. After that opportunity, every opportunity contains information. Every opportunity. Whether you're walking down the street and you look at somebody, or you've got an opportunity to jump out your car and help an old man across the road, or you've got a chance to do what I did, go from fear mode, battle mode, to unconditional love. These are all just stories and situations that are presented to each and every one of us as individual avatars, and how we deal with those situations is up to us. It's up to nobody else. Nobody else is us. I'm not you, you're not me, she's not, but we're all connected. So as an individual avatar human body that contains these programs, in these moments in time, with the knowledge, with the opportunities that are presented, with the information that comes with those opportunities, then what do you do with that information? That then creates the K, the knowledge. Now, as I said in one of our other lives, with all the knowledge in the world that you could possess, unless you have an understanding of that knowledge, which I believe then is that key, is the understanding of the knowledge. And the program is incomplete unless you have the opportunity. And that opportunity goes back infinitely, because we were created physically generational. So for me to meet you and talk to you now, you had to be brought into this physical world, and your soul, your consciousness and soul itself had to be installed into that avatar that we call label Todd Medina.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And me, same thing for me, and everyone else around us. Everybody that is connected in one way or another, whether we know it or we don't. So back to that same thing. These are just stories, situations that are presented to us, and with the information that's contained in those opportunities, the knowledge that is created, once we understand that knowledge, then that program is complete. And that's a program. That's a program. See, this is my program. If somebody's listening to this and they resonate with what I'm saying, then that's a beautiful thing too. But this is just my analogy of what's happened to me. Nobody's ever had that. Nobody has had what I've had. I've had similar things. People have dreams, people have apparitions, people have this, but nobody has the same thing.
Right.
So so there we go. Oiku, opportunity, information, knowledge, and understanding. That's my program. That's what I think. That's life itself.
Mm.
So in that program are the other sub programs too. Like, I can understand that. Opportunity, information, knowledge, and understanding. Now, unconditional love, that program. So without the opportunities that I've been through in my life, absorbing the information, creating the knowledge, and having the understanding, I wouldn't know about unconditional love.
Yeah.
Period. And that's it. So I think, in the way that I'm thinking of where I am now in this so-called time, space, whatever we think, because I don't even really think about that kind of stuff.
Right.
I know there's so many other things, but I'm trying to concentrate on this program of unconditional love, and it's working for me. I know that this avatar that my soul possesses does not live the life that it used to live, so that it does not, this body that people call Mick Rogers or whatever, or arsehole sometimes, whatever, you know, does not live that life, making those choices and in those situations which have an effect. So it's cause and effect as well. You know, for every reaction, there's going to be another reaction. So, you know, there's a consequence of our actions. The actions are programs again. How we choose to do something is a program. So with that choice to act in a way, we're running that program. So
that's true. And there's nothing wrong with that statement. There's no negative connotation or judgment.
No.
But this is the truth. We're actually on a path where we remove a belief system and replace it with another. And this is the path. It's like climbing a ladder.
Yeah.
And that's why I think what's happened over the last few weeks has brought out so much extremities, extreme projections and comments and whatever.
Yeah.
Even in this light worker, way shower, Starseed community.
Yeah.
Because, you know, well, look, it's the same process to get each rung of the ladder.
Yeah.
And that is basically you're stepping from something that to some level or another is comfortable by the knowing of it, whether it feels good or not. And when you step into the next rung, you don't know it's going to feel like.
No.
But the thing is, and this is what I was getting to earlier. We know where it is and what it is, but we don't know how to get there. But what we do have, as Morgan zero pointing, or the metaphor of climbing a ladder or whatever it is, we do have these little these processes, these modalities, these techniques that we can't be overly attached to, but they are a self. It's a mechanism that opens up the self. It's a mechanism that creates the feng shui, right? It falls in line. So it owns everything. It doesn't remove anything. It just owns everything, brings it to the middle, and says this is all one and the same. So, like, for instance, and this is going to probably piss a few people off, but the reality is, if we talk about this from an energetic standpoint, a metaphor or an analogy, okay, at the end of the day, it's not that we shouldn't follow what we need to follow. But oneness is oneness, and that means that every polarity that's in our field, and take the one that is the furthest away from you, the furthest apart, they are one. And that's an easy statement to make. We're in this space of actually being that, which means we can carry it here. We don't have to go plant a flag. We don't have to go march or boycott. We can actually make that decision right here. And I think that's the part of our true nature that has been hidden by whatever means, whether it's malicious or not, self-imposed or whatever. But it's coming into play now, and it's beyond science, and it's beyond spirituality. It's something else. It's happening, and we can actually work with it, but we can't bullshit ourselves. You can't steal second base if you've got 1 foot on first base. You can't jump into the ocean if you leave 1 foot on the shore. You know, so so who was it yesterday said to me? My friend last night told me the universal energy is not like it was. It's not saying, okay, well, we'll get to that tomorrow.
No,
it's not doing that. It's not. It's saying, hey, you know what? You need to shift or get off the pot.
Yeah, it's pulling us with it.
Yeah.
So, and we're talking about, I see it and hear it all the time about the uncomfortableness that's going on too with change. Well, that's normal.
Yeah.
Because when you're used to doing something, that becomes that program again.
Yeah.
So changing the program may become uncomfortable, and some people's program is so strong that they'll use every excuse to keep running that program. It's like addictions and stuff like that.
We've all been.
It's the whole thing.
Relationships have been big ones. We're like, oh, they're going to be better tomorrow. Oh, we'll get along better tomorrow. And you have great sex that night, and you go, oh, it's going to all be great.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've all basically lied to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And but now we're at this space where that stuff's not being supported. There's nothing to play with in that sandbox.
Yeah.
There's just not. And if it is, it's really distorted.
Yeah.
It's like distortion to the point that it becomes a distraction consciously. And Morgan and I were talking the other day, and she was like, I think the distortion is going to get so loud that it's going to create the avenue for cognitive dissonance to go away. Yeah. Because there will be no denying anymore of how ludicrous and how irrelevant it is in comparison to what the real story is, right? Us.
Yeah.
How did we get through an hour and a half so fast?
Really?
Yeah. Do you have any final comments? I got another show coming up. We got Greg Prescott and Allison James, which is a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of elements to it. But everybody knows Greg's been on N5D for years. He just had a major surgery. He's doing a fundraiser. We're going to talk about that. And then of course, they had this incredible relationship from across the pond to each other. So, but yeah, you got any other thing you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Well, basically, that what we've been talking about has been beautiful. It's been a beautiful transfer of information, and so everybody can have that information of raising that frequency of instead of even looking at things as climbing up a ladder, it's just raising that frequency, and we do know that everything is energy in itself and vibrates at a frequency, and these lower vibrational frequencies are what they are. So I had an experience. I'll just finish it off with somebody that wasn't doing something not nice to me, and this, that, and the other, and blah 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 blah, and I found myself into a meditative. So this is going back. This is zero pointing again. So I found myself meditating, and I went into his heart space, and we just sat in there with my energy, however I envisaged it, and went in there like guns blazing, and it wasn't a good feeling. I got sort of pushed out of there, and I understood that, but not really. And then I found myself again going in there. But what I did was I went in there, I connected with this person on an energetic level, and all about soul merging and this, that, and the other, merging with somebody's energy field without being in physical contact. So this is what I did, and what I chose to do the next time was go in there, and instead of going in there guns blazing, which I believe scared that out of him, I went in there and I was vibrating at a little bit higher frequency than he was. And as we know, higher frequency will attract the lower vibration. It help but be attracted to that higher vibration. So I felt myself in there and sat in there for a while, and I did that too with some other people as well. And then when I went back, I felt and was given that information that his vibration has risen to meet that vibration that I was in at, only a little bit. So I did that a few times, and the
That's
situation
powerful, man.
that we were involved in
Went away.
It's non-existent at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, this is what I'm talking about. So this invisible hand of providence,
yep,
that's collectively comprised of all of us, that whatever you want to call it, it can actually be accelerated by a conscious effort like what you just described.
Yeah.
Like you can, I have this old meditation I've been using for like 25 years.
Yep.
Where I sit in a chair and there's a chair across from me and it's just a big white room and the person sits in the chair across from me.
Yep.
And I just start there. And is it like, oh, flip a switch and everything's fine? No.
No.
I might go, hey, what the fuck were you doing that to me for? Or I might come in and say, look, I love you, or whatever. But it works, right?
Yeah.
Now, some people might say, well, if they're not conscious of it, how can it work? It's your intention. This is life force energy that is aligned with universal will, which is aligned with the creative seed itself, that in that frequency, which is the only frequency that new creations can occur, right? Like it has to be new. It has to be from the wisdom that was available plus the experience. Now you convert it because you're not choosing left or right. You're choosing a new choice, which is what I feel like is happening. But what I think what we're missing, and I don't think it'll be forever, I think we're missing that we're actually getting it done and have been getting it done on an individual level, which has nothing to do with what I tell people, what I've experienced, what I tell people, anything. It has to do with me and the universe, where there's a no bullshit filter. And we have done, I believe, that there are many people, not that our work is done, but we have done a lot of inner work, shadow work, 0 point, take responsibility, all that stuff. And I feel that now, well, I think it's already happened. I think that the universal energies is really working with us, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But at the same time, like you said, what happens when there's a higher frequency? It pulls in.
And this is exactly what's happening, Todd, right now. We're talking about this acceleration and how things seem to be speeding up. And at the beginning of the interview, like we were talking about, I've got these ideas I want to share, and then before I share, this is already happening. It's like it is. It's not like it is happening. Things are speeding up, and they are accelerating at the rate that we accelerate ourselves. So so goes one, so goes the collective.
Yeah, and I think that's another good point too that you just made, and that is something might have taken. Use your example about healing yourself. So this is a situation where let's say it took 6 months on the linear or a year on the linear. Before, during, and after for this individual, Mick Rogers, who took the third choice, who didn't take the left or the right, who went to the third choice and said, this is what I'm doing. When that happened, that created a new template that was available for others. But it doesn't require that Mick gets on national or international TV and says this is what happened. It's infused into that invisible holy matrix that the real matrix that we all make, that grid that we all make, and it becomes available. So what I'm trying to say is that instant manifestation is the order of the day. And remember that if something took me X period of time or had to be done X, Y, and Z way, it doesn't mean that another person has to do it through the same time duration or the same process on the surface. The fact is they are doing the same thing because I made it available or you made it available, and they're doing it in a millisecond, and they're doing it maybe on a superficial in a way that doesn't look the same. So we're having an effect on each other.
Yeah.
But I just, I go back to that brutal honesty of the soul. It's not about what we talk about. It's helpful, it's great, and code shared. But it's this conversation with Mick in the universe, it's Todd in the universe, it's whoever in the universe. That's where the gold is, and that's where, to me, that's where the Akashic record is.
And that thing, what you're talking about, Todd. Do you know what? Most of us are aware. Most of us have been aware of this. For example, how many times have you heard in your lifetime, oh, I was thinking about this person the other day and they rang? Now, humanity, because we've been programmed with all these other programs and we don't actually understand that, we pass it off to for a coincidence. Well, where we are now, we know there are no coincidences.
That's
so
right.
These were just, to me, I look back at that, these were just little signs that we notice, but we actually don't know the details. So it's like, oh, I was thinking about that person and they rang. That's just one prime example. This, that, and the other. Somebody, I was looking at this thing. Somebody posted something about a blue feather and about how somebody said, if you got to think about this blue feather and this and that and this, that, and the other, and then see how long it takes you to find a blue feather, or a blue feather appears. Now, this is only in the last 2 weeks. So I didn't know if I believed it or not, but anyway, I became part of this thing. 3 days ago, I was in a shop with Jude, which I shouldn't have even been in that shop with Jude. And we went into this shop and she went one way, I went another way. I took a turn around an aisle and there was a packet of these blue feathers hanging in this aisle. And it wasn't one blue feather, Todd. It was a freaking packet of them. So I ran to Jude to tell her, and I come here. And see, that's just an example. So how you look at it, I can't look at it, I can't look at these things now anymore as a coincidence, because I know that that was manifested.
That's right.
That was manifested.
It's that control.
And even though it was only a bloody blue feather, or a packet of blue feathers, and so many people that wouldn't even understand that will just say, Mick, well, it was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
But to me, I know it can't be a coincidence. Because
these synchronicities used to be numbers only, but now it's so many other things. And I think a lot of people are experiencing what you're talking about too. Like I have a friend I haven't talked to in 12 years. He was actually my best friend. Prior to that, I hadn't talked to him in 15 years. So essentially, I hadn't talked to him in 30 years, other than a couple of exchanges. And I don't know, 2-3 months ago, he started coming into my field like big time. Yeah. Now he's a very common name over here, and I looked him up and I couldn't find him. Although he's got a very prominent position in government, government contractor, defense. I mean, he's well connected. Anyway, so lo and fucking behold, I get this. I went into my inbox on Gmail, and I just happened to go into, and I never do this, I happened to go into my spam. And he had written, he had written to the website, which we've probably gotten, let's say, 20 emails to that website. All the other 19 have showed up in my regular inbox. This one showed up in my spam box, which I never looked at. And I happened to see it, and it said his name, and I thought, what the F is this? Is this really him? Because he's got a very common name, like John Smith, right?
Yeah.
And but anyway, long story short, it was him, and everything just started. And I even told him, I said to him, hey, there's something going on here. Now, we haven't had a conversation in 30 plus, and he said, I know, I can feel it. So this is the type of things that are happening.
Yeah.
We're going to have to run. We're going to have to go because we got another show in 18 minutes, and I got to take care of a couple of things. It was good seeing you, Mick. It's good seeing you, man. I can't wait to get to fucking Adelaide. And see, I'm not concerned about how that happens.
No, neither am I. It's already been seen. Jude's already had a dream.
But I mean, but
in the kitchen that's it. Whatever.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We got a lag. I'm sorry. I just heard it. Well, what I was going to say is what you were talking about earlier. What we were talking about. I'm not worried. I'm not concerning with myself with where I'm going.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I met Morgan. Like when I met Morgan, something came in, it didn't make any sense. It said, oh, that's her. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm broke. I'm on the other side of the world. You know, I'm fucking crazy. And she's like, you know, she's like the, you know, an esteemed, you know, goddess over here. But I didn't know how to get there, but I knew where, and I think that's where we're at.
That's it.
I think that's where we're at. So when somebody brings up laws and rules and visas and passports, and I'm like, fuck that. Yeah. Seriously, not out of disrespect, but that is not part of my experience anymore.
No.
And I think this is the type of example that we're all being led to, which means, okay, put your money where your mouth is, or put your actions in line with your thoughts.
Yeah.
We're being forced to our belief systems. And if our belief system is a one side of a duality, like is it Trump, is it Biden, is it this, is it that?
Yeah.
It's going to force us to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And by the same token, if we step into that third choice, it's going to, the magic and the miracles are going to come, you know? So we could go on forever. We got 16 minutes to go.
The movie isn't over regarding all that, is it? That's it. The movie's not over. We're just.
My point is, we have to engage it.
Yeah, I know.
And not you need to have to. I don't mean it that way. The way it grows is you engage it. We can choose not to engage it, and then this incarnation, this realm will run through a certain point and reset. But I think we actually have an opportunity to create a conscious transformation versus one that occurs to us, you know, because we can only take it so far because we ran out of steam. Wow, this is to
all the souls that this has touched out there.
Yeah. Peace out, Mick. Let's do it again maybe next month. Okay.
Love you, brother.
All right. Take care. Thank you, everybody. Be back.